With regards to Shaun of the Dead, which I mean it's a very old movie, but I happen to have never seen it. And I haven't seen it, because I could sort of tell. I mean, what it's going to be about, really. And I still don't think that quite works. I don't think zombies and comedy go very well together. I don't know, just it's one of those things, when some people seem to think that gore can be somehow funny, and it really isn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. The rest of the movie, besides the gory bits, were funny, quite funny. And overall, it's certainly better than a normal zombie movie. I don't know what. I mean, sure, some people think that they may be social commentary and such, and by all means, but ultimately they're really boring. I think. I mean, I don't know. Even, as opponents, zombies are fundamentally boring. It's the whole thing, at least vampires have something to them, a certain mythology, so the werewolves. But what the hell are zombies? Just slow moving humans full of gore. I don't get it. They're both disgusting and boring at the same time. So yeah, this on the other hand, sure, it had comedy. It was pretty funny outside of the ending bit, really. But you know, frankly, I've no idea why it's so popular. Um, Apparently, it's been universally received, critically as received as well. Well, that is, everyone loves it. Although apparently, they named this thing the three flavors, whatever. Really strange. Yeah, three flavor ice cream things. Incredible. The amount of profit they all made. I happened to watch Hot Fuzz over a decade ago. I didn't even know it was part of a trilogy. It's not really a trilogy, it's a joke, really, but And apparently, so, for some reason, apparently the Hot Fuzz specifically is the most profitable for some reason. Not entirely sure. I think I liked it better than Shaun of the Dead. I mean, as long as it doesn't have, yeah, as long as comedy doesn't have gore, or in the case of rom-coms, too much idiotic sentimentality, when it really should be mainly focused on comedy, or even other sort of disgusting bits, because somehow some people seem to think that disgusting so are comedic, and they're not really. Whether gore or vomit, it's absolutely not comedic. And the same with this, with regards to gore, it's just not comedic. Sure enough, besides, I mean, outside of those bits, where Dylan Moran was torn to bits, it's comedic. But in terms of like with Dylan Moran himself, I first watched him in Black Books, and there's no gore there. So I'm very much more prefer Black Books, right? It probably is even more obscure to most people than Shaun of the Dead, but I very much prefer it, and I think it's much funnier as well. And they didn't waste Thames and Greg. I don't know why. At first, I thought they were going to be reunited in this movie, but no. He appeared a grand total of minutes or something. I don't know why they did that, and they wasted a lot of people. They wasted Martin Freeman as well, which I also like better in. Obviously, Hitchcock's Guide to the Galaxy. Nothing beats the comedy there. Sci-fi comedy is seriously the best. And as it happens, I still haven't seen World's End, so yeah, in all likelihood, I'll like it better. Probably better than Hot Fuzz, but I cannot quite remember. Well, Hot Fuzz specifically, I watched it like literally about 12 years ago or so. Anyway, yeah. So, um, I mean, I actually like better. I like Martin Freeman better than Ghost as well. I think it was Ghost. Ghost stories. Ghost stories. I think I also commented on. Yeah. It was a comedic. I forgot. Maybe not. I don't know. I like him better there still. Though. I don't think it had as much gore either. As funny as it is. Even if it wasn't comedic, this one had more gore. I don't know. I mean, just gore puts me off really. Like even with horror, when it's used in horror, just pure horror without comedy, it doesn't make it horrifying just because it's there. It's just disgusting. Well, this movie would have been much better in my opinion, but who knows? I guess maybe wouldn't have been profitable. People apparently like very simplistic things. I'm not saying it's not it's not effective in terms of the rest of the comedy, but that's the thing. When they get to the real serious zombie stuff, it's stupid. Really, it's just that. And what is this stuff? The film has been used as a modeling example. This modeling example. It's a comedy. I cannot believe anyone would even think of using it as some sort of model. I don't quite understand why it's seen as a product of post 9/11 anxiety. What's it got to do with 9/11? Anyway, um, so yeah, it's a strange one. Because I did honestly like, especially the beginning. I love the beginning. How he goes to buy stuff, he doesn't even notice his not his just fingerprints, bloody fingerprints on the shop's fridge. I love that scene. Even though it's gory, but I mean not as gory as at the end in the pub. The bit at the pub is just horrid. And how many times did they think a gun must be fired? I mean, they said they only had 29 bullets, but they must have had hundreds. Um, this is the problem. So I don't get it. Maybe sure enough, though, it seems like the more guns are fired, the more somehow movies are profitable. It's stupid. So I don't know if people genuinely liked it for its comedy or for the brainless. That's the irony behind it, of course. Like how people liked it for the shooting and the zombies, not of course realizing that it's very much a zombie behavior in itself. No, I very much like the comedy, but I think the gore should have been seriously toned down. Uh, I didn't think it worked as well. It ruined my enjoyment, my prior enjoyment. And the ending wasn't too bad as well. The very, very end, that is, like the last 2, 3 minutes or so. It's like it sort of returned back to the beginning for just a couple of minutes. Why was the extended thing in the pub? It's so awful. I mean, it's like they couldn't decide whether to make it a mostly comedy sort of horror or mostly horror. They just couldn't decide, and they ended up going with mostly horror. In the pub, it was mostly horror, and honestly, the guy making a repeat joke. Ooh, yeah, until you're laughing, I won't stop. I'm not laughing. Was it supposed to have been funny? I wasn't laughing myself. It really was better. So yeah, the comedy there really, really didn't work. Yeah, possibly because there was so much gore, so much blood and whatnot, but it just didn't. The comedy didn't feel to be at all as powerful. And sure enough, during that uh, portion to Queen, and him saying "kill the Queen" and whatnot, wasn't unfunny. Just saying, but it wasn't. I mean, most amazing thing ever, and there's just a constant shooting. Or no, it was so boring. I don't get it. I don't get why they end up. Just I don't get. Just mm. This is always the problem. When it comes to zombie movies or such, or action movies in general. It just isn't very interesting. As long as a story isn't interesting. Like a recent movie I watched from India called Wazir. had loads of shootings, but not literally constant. And it actually had a story, as it happens. What a revelation! What an incredible, you know. And I mean, saying that even V for Vendetta had a lot of, so-called, action scenes, but it actually had a story. It was stylish, etc. I don't get why movies are made just it's like having an RPG video game, with just the mechanics and not the story. Um, yeah, I mean, you know. Anyway, so yeah, it's quite remarkable how so many people are gushing about this. They have gushed on that. I mean, it's very much past tense, But I don't get it really. I mean, it's not that the comedy was fairly interesting, but it's the horror aspect that I have mostly a problem with, because they did go too far, and yeah, and some did criticize it for the ending in particular, but in comparison to how many people said that, oh, it's one of the best, either comedies or horrors. Yeah, I mean, even when it comes to pure horror, I don't know how anyone can say that. People mostly seem to think it's one of the best comedies, and the comedy does do well, and indeed, I mean, one cannot deny that it's one of the better. I mean, when it comes to just zombie movies, sure enough, it is. I mean, the problem is that there aren't exactly many incredible zombie movies, right? I mean, there just aren't that many, in my opinion. Most of them are fairly. I mean, I just looked at the category for Living Dead. It's an entire franchise, and it's an absolutely massive franchise. I have no idea how one differs from another. Honestly, I have seen a few. I don't think I've even seen half though of how much is available. I've seen a few, and I also they cannot see how they differ much. It's always the same thing. So to say. So sure enough, in terms of what this does, adding comedy, brilliant. If only all zombie movies added comedy, because after all, it is sort of a ridiculous premise, the fact that they can do it without comedy added. I mean, sure enough, some have social commentary, you know? So, if they made a zombie movie this year with the pandemic, sure enough, you could say a lot, you know? With or without comedy, you can say a lot. And there were, in fact, many such instances, and of course, I mean, this was in 2004. That's before even H5N1. And someone was coughing on the bus so easily, so nonchalantly, just of course, in this sense, in this context, it transmitted through a bite, not through coughing. But of course, in reality, it is transmitted through coughing, which actually makes it even more difficult. I mean, in real life, I think it's rabies that's transmitted through a bite, I think. Um, and of course, the creature would need to really have lost their mind for that to happen. Otherwise, well, I mean, I don't know honestly if it could ever be possible for a human to do, because that's not something a normal human would do. Bite others. Dogs, sure, uh, but sure enough, humans, on the other hand, do not really care about some. I mean, don't even care about covering their mouths when coughing. That's the problem, of course. And when it comes to, of course, the you know this is the problem. So I mean, even in terms of social commentary. I mean, alright, I'm not expecting this to be some sort of social commentary thesis or something. I mean, it is mainly a comedy, but they didn't even like, they approached it. They approached the so-called apocalypse and some apocalypse from an entirely um well, comedic perspective, yes, but not realistic in this sense, though. Just I mean, right now there are people who actually dare to deny the existence of COVID, but they don't do it in any comedic manner or anything. It's not about comedy or anything. Um, I mean, it's reality. So it's not quite doesn't quite fair, doesn't quite work in terms of social commentary. In terms of comedy, sure, but it's not realistic then. So, in the sense, like and it doesn't, yeah, quite well realistic anyway. And in relation to this, I mean, I still have no idea why somebody even bothered to use epidemiology with regards to zombie movies. Apparently, they did this in 2013 or something, so not quite anything to do with current pandemic or anything. But I don't get it. I mean, unless the creators of the movies did it themselves, unless they used actual epidemiology to create a pandemic, I don't think it really matters, does it? I mean, I'm assuming it's just random. However many zombies happen to be, just random. I don't get why anyone would even bother. I did though. I think I will at some point read whatever they produced. It's quite something. Some people did go a bit overboard. It's how much they seemingly analyzed this movie. I mean, it's a movie after all, ultimately, right? And it's a comedy too, which makes it a bit bizarre how people seem to think that you could analyze quite a bit about it. I mean, apparently Simon Pegg, I wasn't quite aware, but Simon Pegg was apparently before becoming an actor, so was a waiter. So I'm not entirely sure how you go from waiter to actor and screenwriter of something that's later used in some sort of epidemiological analysis. It's a bit absurd, but okay, whatever. I mean, it's whatever they want to do. I mean, this is because it's, but it does go a bit far. I mean, it's just some comedy, and ultimately, I still reiterate the fact that as much as people seem to think that it's best thing since sliced bread, I mean, it is an opinion. Everyone has an opinion, right? Just like I mean, this is supposed to be one of the best comedies in the horror specifically, genre. Um, People seem to think it's one of the best, whatever. It's just it's an opinion, and it's just sort of like some like it hot. It's considered also to be one of the best comedies, but personally, didn't. I don't know what's considered to be. I mean, it's mediocre in my opinion, but some people seem to think it's one of the best. Comedy is very subjective, right? And I personally, I don't even know why people consider Shawshank Redemption to be one of the best dramas generally, because it's just a prison break movie, of many prison break movies. So in a way, you could say every movie, every genre is subjective, and ultimately, I suppose maybe it just depends on like a consensus of critics, etc., or obviously how much profit a movie made, or what the average rating is as to how it's perceived. But some things I just don't know how these things happen. I mean, I've seen others like Spellbound. I mentioned it in the past. Obviously it came out much later, but Spellbound as a horror comedy is better in my opinion. It doesn't, from what I remember, it doesn't have as much gore at all. It it and yeah, it's quite funny, and it's quite subtle in its horror as well. Um, this did go overboard with the blood. That's the only problem I have with the, just a lot. Like his mom had her whole arm. I just That's not comedy in my opinion. So otherwise, so the rest besides the gore was comedic. Yes, if only they cut out that bit because it's not funny in my opinion. Just that is just you know that would be fine, but it's still not one of the best things ever seen.